In 1983, a song took the world by storm. Tonight, I Celebrate My Love became an anthem for lovers everywhere, reaching number 2 in the UK and top 5 on the R&B charts in America. But behind this timeless classic lies a story that few people know, a collaboration that almost didn't happen between two legendary voices that created something truly magical. This is the untold story of how Peabo Bryson and Roberta Flack came together to create one of the most iconic duets in music history, and how this partnership revealed the depth of talent, resilience, and artistry that defined both of their extraordinary careers. To understand this collaboration, we need to go back to where it all began. Roberta Cleopatra Flack was born on the 10th of February 1937 in Black Mountain, North Carolina. From her earliest days, music wasn't just a hobby, it was woven into the fabric of her life. Her father, Laurent Flack, was a jazz pianist and draftsman. Her mother, Irene, was a church organist and choir director. Young Roberta would sit on her mother's lap at an old, battered piano her father had repaired, picking out melodies before she could even read music. The church became her first stage, the Lomax African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, where she accompanied the choir, singing hymns and spirituals. But here's what made Roberta different. At just 9 years old, she was already mastering classical compositions on the piano. By 15, she was so gifted that Howard University offered her a full music scholarship, making her one of the youngest students ever admitted to the prestigious institution. At Howard, she didn't just study music, she transformed it. She switched her major from piano to voice, became an assistant conductor for the university choir, and received a standing ovation from the entire faculty for her direction of the opera Aida. Can you imagine? Still a teenager, and she was already commanding respect from seasoned professors. But life had other plans. When her father died suddenly, Roberta had to leave her graduate studies and take a teaching job in Farmville, North Carolina, to support her family. By day, she taught English and music in junior high schools in Washington, D.C. By night, she gave piano lessons and performed in local clubs, honing her craft, waiting for her moment. That moment came in 1968 at a small nightclub called Mr. Henry's on Capitol Hill. Jazz pianist Les McCann happened to be in the audience for a benefit concert. What he heard stopped him in his tracks. He immediately made a demo tape and took it to Atlantic Records. They sent a scout who signed her on the spot. Her debut album, First Take, was recorded in just 10 hours in 1969. Critics loved it, but commercially, it went nowhere. Her second album faced the same fate. But then, in 1971, something extraordinary happened. Director Clint Eastwood was making a thriller called Play Misty for Me. He personally selected a song from Flack's first album, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, for the film's soundtrack. Atlantic Records rushed it out as a single in February 1972, and within weeks, it shot to #1, staying there for 6 consecutive weeks. Roberta Flack became a household name overnight. But 1972 brought both triumph and tragedy to her life. While her career soared, her marriage to jazz bassist Stephen Novosel ended in divorce. Yet through it all, she found a creative partner who would change everything. His name was Donny Hathaway, a former classmate from Howard University. Together, Flack and Hathaway created magic. Their voices blended with a chemistry that was almost supernatural. Songs like Where Is the Love and The Closer I Get to You became instant classics, earning Grammy Awards and touching millions of hearts. But Donny was fighting battles that the public couldn't see. He suffered from paranoid schizophrenia, experiencing severe mood swings and crippling bouts of depression. The weight of fame, combined with his mental illness, became unbearable. On the 13th of January 1979, Donny Hathaway's body was found on the sidewalk beneath his hotel room window in New York City. He had fallen from the 15th floor. He was only 33 years old. The music world was devastated. Roberta was shattered. They had been working on a second duets album together. It was only half finished when Donny died. Somehow, through her grief, Roberta found the strength to complete the album. It was released in 1980 as Roberta Flack, featuring Donny Hathaway, a bittersweet tribute to a partnership that would never be again. For Roberta, music became both her healing and her burden. How do you move forward when you've lost your greatest collaborator? How do you open your heart to create with someone new when the wounds are still so fresh? Meanwhile, on the other side of the music world, another voice was rising. His name was Robert Peabo Bryson, though the world would come to know him simply as Peabo. Born on the 13th of April 1951 in Greenville, South Carolina, Peabo grew up on his grandfather's farm in Malden. His was a different kind of musical education. As he would later say, "I think the sensitivity in my songs stems from my early childhood. I was raised by women, my grandmother, until she died. And my mother? My grandmother was a woman who lived and loved with incredible passion. That sensitivity, that deep understanding of love and emotion, would become Peabo's signature." At just 14 years old, he was already performing professionally as a featured vocalist with a traveling revue called Al Freeman and the Upsetters. It was Freeman's difficulty pronouncing Peabo's original name, Peabo, that led to the spelling change that would stick for life. By 16, Peabo had left home to tour the famous Southern Chitlin circuit with Moses Dillard and the Textown Display. These weren't glamorous venues. These were small clubs and theaters across the segregated South, where Black performers honed their craft in front of demanding, passionate audiences who knew real talent when they heard it. Peabo's big break came during a recording session at Atlanta's Bullet Bang Records. The label's general manager, Eddie Bisco, heard something special in the young backup singer's voice and signed him as a writer, producer, and arranger. For years, Peabo worked behind the scenes, learning the craft, writing songs, producing tracks, and occasionally recording his own material. His first album, simply titled Peabo, came out in 1976 and was only a regional success. But when he signed with Capitol Records in 1977, everything changed. His album, Reaching for the Sky, peaked at number 6 on the R&B charts, and suddenly, the industry was paying attention. Capitol Records saw his potential and started pairing him with major female vocalists. First came Natalie Cole in 1979 for We're the Best of Friends. Then, in 1980, came a project that would set the stage for everything to follow. Capitol paired Peabo with Roberta Flack for a double live album called Live and More. It was released on Atlantic Records and became a top 10 R&B best-selling album. The chemistry was undeniable, but it was just a preview of what was to come. By 1983, both artists were at pivotal points in their careers. Roberta was established, internationally renowned, a legend who had already made history by becoming the first artist ever to win the Grammy Award for Record of the Year in 2 consecutive years. But she was also healing, finding her way forward after Donnie's death. Peabo was ascending, 6 years into his recording career and establishing himself as one of the premier male vocalists in R&B. He had the voice, the talent, and the work ethic. What he needed was that one defining moment, that song that would cement his place in music history. Enter Michael Masser, a songwriter and producer already known for creating hits like Diana Ross's Touch Me in the Morning. Masser had written a song with lyricist Jerry Goffin called Tonight, I Celebrate My Love. He had originally pitched it to RCA Records for Diana Ross, but they passed. His next thought was Barbra Streisand. But when Masser played the song for Roberta Flack, something clicked. As she later recalled, Masser told her he hoped to place the song with Streisand. But Roberta listened carefully and said simply, I told him I think I can sing that. This is where the story gets really interesting. Roberta didn't just want to record the song, she wanted Peabo Bryson to sing it with her. She knew his voice, trusted his artistry from their previous work together, and believed he was the perfect partner for this particular song. Roberta brought Peabo over to Masser's house for a preview, and here's the honest truth. Peabo wasn't immediately sold. Years later, he admitted with characteristic humility, even though it's a great song, I didn't appreciate it was. Michael's not the greatest singer in the world. I only agreed to do it because Roberta really wanted to. But then they got into the studio, and after the first take, everything changed. As Peabo put it, after the first take in the studio, I got it too. What happened in that recording session was nothing short of alchemy. The song wasn't just performed, it was inhabited. Every note, every breath, every inflection carried the weight of both singers' experiences. Roberta's ability to convey deep emotion through subtle phrasing combined with Peabo's rich, operatic voice created something that transcended the individual parts. The music video, directed by Martin Pitts, was filmed at Capitol Studios in Hollywood. It was Roberta's video debut, a simple but powerful performance piece showing Flack at the piano and Bryson seated beside her, session musicians in the background. The intimacy of the setup mirrored the intimacy of the song itself. When Tonight, I Celebrate My Love was released as the lead single from their Born to Love album in July 1983, it became an instant phenomenon. The song peaked at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100, reached number 5 on the R&B chart, and number 4 on the Adult Contemporary chart. But those numbers don't tell the whole story. In the UK, where both artists had strong followings, the song soared to number 2, giving both Roberta and Peabo their all-time best UK chart showing. It became a top 10 hit in Australia, Canada, Ireland, and New Zealand. The song went gold, selling over 1 million copies worldwide. It was played at weddings, anniversaries, and intimate moments between lovers everywhere. The Born to Love album itself achieved gold status in the United States and became both artists' highest-charting international success. Critics called it enjoyable, though some noted it wasn't essential listening. But audiences disagreed. The album resonated because of the genuine connection between the two voices. For Roberta Flack, this collaboration represented something profound. It proved she could create magic with a new partner, that Donnie's death hadn't ended her ability to connect deeply with another vocalist. It was a healing, a moving forward while honoring what came before. For Peabo Bryson, Tonight, I Celebrate My Love became his signature duet, the song that would define him as the king of balladeers for decades to come. It opened doors to even bigger collaborations. Just a few years later, he would record Beauty and the Beast with Celine Dion and A Whole New World with Regina Belle, both of which won Grammy Awards and Oscar recognition. But here's what often gets overlooked. While the follow-up singles from Born to Love didn't achieve the same massive success, You're Looking Like Love to Me peaked at 58, and Heaven Above Me only reached 84 inches the UK. The album's impact went beyond chart positions. This collaboration showed the music industry that Roberta Flack was more than her past, and it proved that Peabo Bryson belonged in conversations about the greatest vocalists of his generation. The years that followed saw both artists continue to build remarkable careers, though their paths diverged. Peabo went on to become the first artist in music history to have separate records topping 4 different charts. His Disney duets became cultural touchstones. Beauty and the Beast hit number 1 on the pop charts in 1991, and A Whole New World did the same in 1992. Both songs won Grammys. Both films won Oscars for Best Original Song. Peabo Bryson had become the voice of romance for an entire generation, and even for their children through Disney. Throughout his career, he released 20 albums and remained remarkably consistent, the smooth, operatic quality of his voice never wavering. He survived industry changes, shifting musical trends, and personal challenges, including a heart attack in 2019 that he recovered from to continue performing. Roberta Flack's journey took different turns. After her peak in the 1,970 seconds and early 1,980 seconds, she shifted focus, spending more time on music education, composition, and production. She founded the Roberta Flack School of Music in 2005 at the Hyde Leadership Charter School in the Bronx, providing free music education to underserved students. In 2010, she established the Roberta Flack Foundation, supporting music education and various social causes. She hosted a national radio show, Brunch with Roberta Flack, from 1995 to 1998, and continued to tour and record, though less frequently. She collaborated with younger artists like Alicia Keys, India, Ari, and Angie Stone, becoming a mentor and inspiration to a new generation. In 1999, she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2020, she was honored with a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, recognition of her immeasurable contribution to American music. But in 2022, devastating news emerged. Roberta had been diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. The illness robbed her of her ability to sing, the voice that had moved millions now silenced by a cruel disease. On the 24th of February 2025, Roberta Flack passed away in Manhattan at the age of 88. So what does this story really teach us? Why does the collaboration between Peabo Bryson and Roberta Flack matter beyond the beautiful music they created? First, it reminds us that artistic partnerships don't have to be forever to be meaningful. Roberta's work with Donny Hathaway was profound and irreplaceable, but that didn't mean she couldn't create something equally beautiful with someone new. Grief and growth can coexist. Honoring the past doesn't mean we can't embrace the present. Second, it shows us the power of trust and collaboration. Roberta trusted Peabo with this song when he wasn't even sure about it himself. She heard something in him, believed in him, and that belief unlocked something special. Peabo, in turn, trusted Roberta's instincts and opened himself to the possibility. Great art often requires that kind of mutual faith. Third, this story illustrates that success isn't always immediate or obvious. Peabo worked for years in the background, learning his craft before getting his moment. Roberta's first albums were commercial disappointments despite critical acclaim. Both faced setbacks, personal struggles, and industry challenges. But they persisted, honed their skills, and were ready when opportunity came. And finally, this collaboration reminds us that music, at its best, is about connection, not just between the artists, but between the art and the audience. Tonight, I Celebrate My Love endures, because it speaks to something universal, the desire to celebrate love, to create moments of beauty and intimacy in a chaotic world. Conclusion: 1745–1815. The story of Peabo Bryson and Roberta Flack isn't about scandal or controversy. It's about two extraordinary artists who came together at the right moment, created something timeless, and in doing so, revealed the depth of their individual talents. Roberta Flack showed the world that legends can reinvent themselves, that loss doesn't have to mean the end of creation. Peabo Bryson proved that patience, persistence, and genuine artistry eventually get recognized. Together, they gave us a song that still plays at celebrations of love 40 years later. Their collaboration was brief but brilliant, a perfect intersection of talent, timing, and trust. It stands as a reminder that magic doesn't always require decades of partnership. Sometimes, it just requires the right voices, the right song, and the courage to create something beautiful together.